The doctor suddenly woke up, fell down to a sandy-covered ground and started to crawl looking for a way out. He was disoriented but also his eyesight was blurry. He then began to stand up to his feet. He headed to a small cave archway but was stopped by a small group of beings. He vaguely knew who they were. One of them whacked him on the head with something wooden. He fell back first down to the ground. He quickly leaned over. A few more beings came in. Cat people in robes that seemed to be Gallifreyan. He then began to wonder what on earth is going on. He then was taken to a court-like area where the cat people were sitting. The elder Dunoon walked up to him and said some of his followers retrieved him from the vacuum of space. The doctor gave a feeble thanks to them. He then asked him if they were the cats of Jeng Sing. Dunoon replied with yes. The doctor wondered what happened to them. Everything about them was a mystery and their history was presumed erased from the Matrix. Dunoon explained to him that the Time Lords banished them from Gallifrey, a sort of ethnic cleansing to keep everything in line and the same. The doctor just nodded. Even the planet Earth has done this of multiple occasions, and then he saw the seal of Rassilon over the main table. Dunoon then ordered one of his followers, Kaplan, to take the doctor to a jail cell nearby. The doctor thought he was going to be imprisoned due to being a Time Lord, but it was something more sinister than he expected and was escorted out. Kaplan took the doctor to a large metal cage. Kaplan said to him it's someone he knows very well. The doctor looked in at the cage. There was a hooded figure in it lying down. The robes were tattered and hung a smell of a decayed body odor. The doctor looked at it and said, "Who are you?" Then the hooded figure quickly sprung up and said his title. The doctor's eyes glared. It was the master, and by the looks of it was reduced to his decaying form. The two just stared at each other and the master was breathing heavily like he was suffering from a chest infection. The doctor leaned into his face. He then scolded him. How did he survive after falling into that acid pool in the glass house? The master suddenly tried to bite his face like a rabid animal and Chesty laughed at him. Crude time travel technology. The doctor leaned back to Kaplan. There always an escape plan with that one, and then Dunoon entered the room. He then began plan a duel to the death in their arena. The doctor was horrified by this idea, but Dunoon wanted this to happen. He wanted both renegade Time Lords to duke it out in the ring. One will get an early grave and one will gain their freedom. The doctor had to give in while the master just sniggered at the idea and said to the doctor that this will be the proper finale to their rivalry. Kaplan escorted the doctor out of the room and left the master in the cage. All he did was twitching and laughed at the prospects of finally killing the doctor once and for all. Kaplan placed the doctor back into the room where he awoken. The doctor asked Kaplan what is the idea of having him facing the master to the death. Kaplan explained that when Time Lords end up on the planet they devise a brutal tournament to the death. One leaves intact and granted their freedom. The other who dies in battle has their remains kept on the planet so that the cats of Jeng Sing can use them as an act of remembrance because they both cohabited the same planet together. The doctor leaned over and said if it was the real reason why the Time Lords banished or exiled them to this dust rock of a planet that doesn't have a name. Kaplan in a defensive reaction pushed the doctor down to the ground and mentioned that their beliefs and rights are more justifiable than what Rassilon and his pact have concocted over the centuries. The doctor just stared at him and said nothing. Kaplan walked out, but before he left he said to the doctor that Dunoon's followers are bringing him some company to keep him sane for the time being. A while later Dunoon came into the doctor's quarters with two of his followers. Behind them was Louisa. The doctor looked at her gladly that she was okay and she came to him relieved that he was the same. Dunoon left the two in the quarters. As the hours passed, Louisa was contemplating how they will manage to get out of this gladiatorial situation. The doctor then got some courage to bring up the time when they landed on Canopus 3, but it was the aftermath he never told her, which was the abortion he proceeded with to remove Zol's offspring. Her friendly positively then became sour. In her reaction she attacked him by hitting him but also punching him in the face. The doctor now was bleeding from the nose and his bottom lip. She angrily demanded why. He said to her that he had to save her. Zol's spawn would have been quickly birthed if they were traveling, though the vortex all hell would have broke loose if he acted quickly, which he did, and that he saved her life. She brought herself down from her outburst, but she turned her back to him. Her thoughts were rapidly wondering why the person she traveled with did such a act to her. She then felt his hand on her left shoulder. She quickly shunned it and insisted that he should keep a distance. The doctor kept looking at her until she turned back to him. She came to a realization that he did the right thing even though she was against the whole situation that he ended up doing, and then she gave a look at him. She walked closer to him and softly asked, how did they end up in this mess? As dawn broke on the planet, a sound of bone-like horns were heard throughout the area. The doctor was standing by the doorway waiting for his fate to be at the hands of the master. Louisa was sitting down washing her feet and then Kaplan entered in. He cuffed the doctor in chains and said he's ready to enter the pit. The doctor took a deep breath and walked away, bracing himself for the duel of fate. Louisa asked Kaplan if she was needed. He looked at her and said, she's an observer of the tournament, that's all. The doctor was dragged out into the open. The planet was orangey and dusty like it had been abandoned for years. A dilapidated coliseum loomed in the distance and the doctor was entered in via the side entrances where champions enter but don't get out alive. A metal gate slowly went up and he was brought out into the middle of the coliseum. There were thousands of the cats of Ginseng, mainly civilians who inhabit the planet, and were chanting some wall of sound that was untranslatable to the doctor's ears. He was placed on a small stand where he got whacked at the back of his legs with a wooden stick and then got uncuffed. The master came out the opposite side and got the same treatment. Dunoon stood up at a balcony area, gave a little speech and then blowed into a small bone-like horn to commence battle. The master sneeringly walked up to the doctor and savagely tackled him to the ground. Louisa was in the audience seating part of the Colosseum. She just sat there unsure what to do, how to intervene. To help the doctor, some of the cats of Ginseng started throwing discarded meatless bones at the doctor. A couple of them smacked right into his head while confronting the master. Louisa stood up and shouted at them for sabotaging his concentration. Some of the cats of Ginseng hissed at her viciously. All she did was try to calm them down subtly and tried to think of something. The master batted the doctor with a foot-long dry bone, making him fall to the ground. The master then kneeled on the doctor's chest and was about to impale him. The doctor managed to push the master off and tried to outsmart him in quick reflexes while trying not get hit by any item on the ground. The master was determined to kill his arch-nemesis, but as he got nearer, his decayed body started to fail him and fell face first to the ground. The doctor had the opportunity to take him out. He picked up a large animalistic skull and held it above his head with both hands. The master started to feebly heckle him, saying that when his old friend dies, the universe will be extinct. The planet Earth and multiple galaxies will be destroyed. Companions, allies and random tag-alongs will incinerated while his soul hangs in the ether, regretting saving every single life. The doctor hesitated at first but got the courage to actually do it. To kill his arch-nemesis and once a friend on his home planet. He then shouted out, if we fight like animals, we die like animals. It echoed the near-death experience he had on the planet of the cheetah people. He used his strength and caved the master's decayed skull. It broke like a cheaply made vase and pieces of charred bone scattered both sides where he impaled the master's skull. He then fell back onto his back. The crowd suddenly fell silent and the doctor became sorta comatose. He had actually killed the master with his bare hands, and it was the most bizarre feeling he had ever experienced. Louisa shouted for him and he then heard her voice. He got up and walked towards her. She leapt over the audience seating area and came to him quickly. He then fell to his knees and put her arms around him. She looked at him. He felt numb, no emotion, and then his face was placed on her shoulder. He started to grunt and then let out a manly cry. She patted him on the back trying to reassure him, but this situation ended being dire. It took a while for him to recover from it. The doctor solely returned to his quarters. All he did was stare at a blank wall and didn't utter a word. Dunoon along with Kaplan and Louisa entered in. Dunoon explained that the master's corpse will be strung on a wooden pole, a reminder of the Time Lords who fought in the pit but sadly perished in battle. The doctor remained in his isolated state. Louisa walked up next to him. She said to him to look at her. He eventually did and then turned to Dunoon. Dunoon says that he will be granted his freedom off the planet and that his TARDIS is waiting for him near some rock faces. The doctor stood closer to Dunoon. What the cats of Ginseng's beliefs are to do with the Time Lords is insidious, and that he doesn't wish to encounter them again after all this. Dunoon understood this, and both the doctor and Louisa left the quarters, leaving Dunoon and Kaplan behind them. Before leaving, Dunoon returned the doctor's sonic screwdriver and mentioned about it being crummy technology. All the doctor did was nodded silently and began to leave. The doctor and Louisa headed out to the nearby rock faces where his TARDIS was situated. A little later, the TARDIS started to dematerialize off the planet, and Dunoon and a couple of his followers watched it from afar as it faded away.